So the pen testing methodology, what is it? So we're going to gather information. We're going to go over vulnerability analysis, or we're going to conduct a vulnerability analysis. We're going to have external pen testing. We're going to have internal network pen testing, so where we're going around and bouncing around the internal network. Firewall pen testing, so we're going to test the firewall rules and configurations and see if we're allowing malware through. Can I get to any IP that I want? So on and so forth. We're going to test the IDS, and we're going to see if we can penetrate that, if we overload it, if we're just, is it logging everything that we're doing, so on and so forth. We want to perform password cracking and penetration testing on whatever passwords they're going to give us or that we can steal. And then social engineering penetration testing. We're going to perform some phishing maybe. And then web application penetration testing. We're going to go after the web apps themselves. We may look for some SQL databases and try to get into those. Is it acceptable to structure query language attacks like SQL injection? Router and switch testing. Wireless network testing. Denial of service testing, which very rarely will people let you do. Very incredibly rarely will they let you do that. Then we're going to see how they handle stolen laptops, PDAs, cell phones, that kind of thing. Source code penetration testing. So we're going to go over the source code and then analyze that in a methodological way, like, for example, static analysis. And then we have physical security penetration testing, like lock picking and that kind of thing. Do people notice that I'm picking a lock in broad daylight? What happens if I pick a lock? Does the alarm go off? You know, that kind of thing. Then we have security camera pen testing. Can they see my face? Can they see my license plate? Are the cameras focused properly? That's a whole separate class on that alone. And then database pen testing. So we talked about that earlier with SQL injection. This is going to be, I steal a table. Did they notice that I stole the table? VoIP pen testing. So we talked about this earlier, that snooping VoIP traffic is considered wiretapping, and we have to be very careful what we do in VoIP penetration testing. Then we also have virtual private network pen testing, or VPN pen testing. Cloud penetration testing. What's the difference between what we normally do and the cloud, right? Virtual machine pen testing, war dialing. We talked about that, dialing random phone numbers. If the company is located in area code 305, maybe we dial every 305 area code number, right? And see how many modems we get. Remember, that is not exactly legal. You may generate a lot of complaints doing that kind of thing, so be careful with that too. Plus, it's annoying to people. So be responsible with the war dialing that you're doing. Virus and Trojan detection, log management penetration testing. So what happens if I get into the logs? Do they detect it? What if I change something? Is it detected? Then along those same lines, we get into file integrity checking. Do they have tripwire, things like this? Are they detecting that I'm messing around with these files? I changed something. Did they detect it, or did it get socialized all the way up? Mobile devices penetration testing. So what happens if I taint a phone? What happens if I bring my own phone in the building? What happens? Can I get on their LAN? Can I ping from my cell phone? Do they detect this kind of thing? Telecom and broadband pen testing. So we want to test their actual data providers. Email security penetration testing. So we talked about phishing and things of that nature. Security patches penetration testing. So with email security penetration testing, maybe you send a virus in an email. Do they get it? Like EICAR, E-I-C-A-R. It's a free virus you can get and use for testing. And then security patches penetration testing. Are they applying the proper patches? Are the patches legit? So there's some malware out there that will fake that the systems are patched at a certain level. So a pen test will catch that they are not patched at that certain level. Data leakage penetration testing. What happens if I start sending out W-2 data off the network, or social security numbers, or credit card numbers through the network from the inside out? Is it detected? And then SAP penetration testing. So you want to test their SAP applications and things like that. So the next module flow will be information security laws and standards. So PCI data security standard. So the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, PCI DSS. If you don't know that acronym, you need to know it, commit it to memory, know it backwards and forwards. The Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard is a proprietary information security standard for organizations that handle cardholder information for the major debit, credit, prepaid, e-purse, ATM, and point-of-sale cards. PCI DSS applies to all entities involved in the payment card processing. including merchants, processors, acquirers, issuers, and service providers, as well as all other entities that store, process, transmit cardholder data. High-level overview of the PCI DSS requirements developed and maintained by the PCI CSS or DSS Council. So what is that? The PCI Data Security Standard high-level overview: build and maintain a secure network, implement strong access control measures, protect cardholder data, regularly monitor and test networks, maintain a vulnerability management program, and maintain an information security policy. So these are just a few things that you need to do. Also, we talked about most people will implement PCI DSS just to adhere. There's a huge difference between implementing PCI DSS because you care about security and you really want to harden the network versus just trying to comply. There's a huge disparity between the two. And that is why most payment card industry providers are breached, because they do it just to adhere the checkboxes. So there's a lot of loopholes for them. If they want to exploit them, they can. So they're cheating them, you, and making more security problems on the network than there needs to be. So just keep that in mind, that when you test this kind of thing, don't assume that they've done it properly. Assume that they have not, and try to get them to do it properly. So bring those things to their knowledge. Make them aware that you're doing it for checkboxing, not for real security implementation. Like I said, there's a huge disparity between the two. So ISO IEC 27001-213, so obviously this was updated. It specifies the requirements for establishing. Okay, so this is also a test question. Also, you see some questions about the PCI DSS as well. The ISO IEC 27001-213 specifies the requirements for establishing, implementing, maintaining, and continually improving information security management system within the context of the organization. It is intended to be suitable for several different types of use, including the following: use with organizations to formulate security requirements and objectives, use within organizations as a way to ensure that the security risks are cost-effectively managed, used within organizations to ensure compliance with laws and regulation, and the definition of new information security management processes, so they're going to define them, and then identification and clarification of existing information security management processes, used by management of organizations to determine the status of information security management activities, and implementation of business enabling information security, used by organizations to provide relevant information about information security to customers. So this is a very broad standard, right? It's a lot of stuff.